The jungle did not welcome strangers. It breathed with a heavy pulse of heat and life that made every sound sharp and every movement dangerous. The hunter known as Ryan walked through the thick canopy with his rifle slung over his shoulder. Sweat clinging to his neck and the scent of wet soil in every breath, he had come for a rare beast, a shadow that locals whispered about, an animal that had torn through camps and vanished before dawn. Ryan believed in skill, not superstition. He had hunted lions in the plains, bears in the mountains, and crocodiles in the swamps. Yet this place felt alive in a different way. It watched him. It measured him. Birds shrieked above as if warning him to turn back. The air was thick enough to choke, and each step sunk into soft earth. The distant sound of rushing water echoed like a heartbeat, guiding him deeper into the unknown. Ryan paused. He studied the broken branches nearby. Something massive had passed recently. He knelt, touched the mark on the tree. Bark, and saw fresh scratches deep enough to reveal pale wood. The creature was large, very large. He checked his rifle again and moved forward. The forest swallowed his figure whole, and the world became soundless except for his footsteps and the steady rhythm of his breathing. Hours passed under the unrelenting sun. The shadows stretched, and the jungle began to hum with the strange voices of dusk. Ryan reached a clearing where an abandoned camp stood, torn tents, broken crates, bloodstains on the dirt. The remains of another hunt, perhaps not one that ended well. He crouched low, searching for tracks. The soil was disturbed by many prints, but one stood out. Heavy, deep circular with claws that cut into the earth like knives. It was no ordinary predator. A sudden rustle made him spin, rifle raised. A shape moved among the ferns, a blur of fur and muscle, but when he fired, the bullet struck only leaves. The sound echoed, and then the jungle went silent again. Ryan steadied himself, breathing slow. The hunter inside him awakened fully. He set traps, small metal snares near the trail, and marked his path with carved notches on the trees. The plan was simple. Find the beast, wait for the right moment, end it before it could end him. As night fell, the jungle transformed. The air cooled, but the darkness was absolute. The cries of unseen creatures filled the void, and fireflies drifted like tiny ghosts. Ryan built a small fire shielded by rocks and waited, listening to every whisper of movement. Then came the sound. The low growl, deep and steady, rolling through the trees. It was close. He lifted his rifle and scanned the shadows. Two glowing eyes appeared between the trunks, reflecting the firelight. A slow, deliberate movement followed massive. Shoulders, broad head, heavy fur. The beast stepped forward, a jaguar but larger than any he had ever seen. Its muscles rippled beneath black and gold, hide its fangs long and wet with saliva. Ryan aimed for the chest and fired. The shot cracked the night, but the creature moved too fast. The bullet grazed its shoulder. The beast roared and vanished into darkness. Ryan cursed under his breath. He reloaded and stood still, heart pounding. He could hear it circling him in the dark, each step slow, patient, deliberate. He had hunted all his life, but now he felt something he had never known before. The sense that he was no longer in control. The jungle was not his domain. It was the beast's. Without warning, it lunged. The force knocked him backward. Claws, raking his arm. He rolled, firing again. The bullet tore through fur and flesh. A scream followed, and the creature retreated, bleeding into the shadows. Ryan pressed his wound. It was deep, but not fatal. He gritted his teeth and pushed himself up. The fire flickered, revealing streaks of blood across the leaves. He followed them, gun ready, each breath a battle against pain. The trail led to the river. The moonlight shimmered on the surface, silver and cold. The beast stood on the opposite bank, glaring. Back at him, its body trembling with fury and pain. For a long moment, Hunter and Hunted stared across the water. Ryan raised his rifle again, but something in those eyes stopped him. There was intelligence there. Not simple animal rage, but awareness. Understanding hatred. He lowered the weapon for a second too long. The jaguar leapt across the river faster than thought. Ryan fired, but the shot went wide. The beast crashed into him, teeth snapping inches from his face. They rolled into the mud, locked. In a struggle that felt endless, Ryan smashed the rifle butt against its jaw. The beast howled in fury and stumbled away. He scrambled up, bleeding, gasping, and seized his knife. The two circled each other under the moonlight, breathing heavy. One man. One creature both drenched in blood, and Willett charged again. He ducked low, slashed deep, and felt the blade hit muscle. The beast screamed, clawed him across the chest, and collapsed, twitching in the mud. Its breath came ragged, slow fading. Ryan stood. Trembling knife still in hand, he had won, or so he thought. He stepped closer, but the ground shifted beneath his feet. A pit, a trap. The beast's own lair. He fell hard, landing on bones and skulls shattered, remains of other hunters. Above him, the jaguar twitched, its eyes dimming. It died staring down at him. Ryan tried to climb out, but the earth walls crumbled loose and slick. He was trapped. Blood trickled down his side. The jungle whispered above him, alive, awake, watching. He realized then that the jungle had claimed both hunter and prey alike. The pit smelled of death and old decay. Ryan pressed his back against the slick wall, his pulse racing through his temples. The night above felt impossibly distant, the stars blocked by the heavy canopy. He could hear the hum of insects, the slow drip of water, and the faint creak of vines swaying with unseen motion. He tried climbing, but every handful of mud slid away, leaving him coated in filth and pain. His knife was gone, lost in the fall. His rifle lay somewhere outside the pit, unreachable. The silence around him deepened until even his breath felt too loud. Then he heard something new, a shuffle, a scrape against the earth near the edge of the pit. He froze and looked up. The dim moonlight revealed movement shapes shifting between the trees. Someone or something was up there watching. Ryan called out, his voice low. "Who is there?" No answer. Only a faint rustle, followed by a soft thud as if a heavy weight landed nearby. He squinted, trying to make sense of it, then the sound of claws, dragging across stone, echoed downward. Another creature, perhaps smaller than the jaguar, but no less dangerous. He gripped a piece of broken bone and raised it like a weapon. The shadows shifted again, and a dark silhouette peered down, glowing eyes, reflecting faint silver light. The figure moved back, vanishing without sound. Ryan held still for a long time. The jungle was awake now, breathing around him, whispering through the leaves. At dawn, the world changed again. Light broke through the canopy, painting the pit in gold and green. Ryan could see more clearly now. The bones around him belonged not only to animals, but to humans. He saw torn cloth, metal fragments, boots half buried in the mud. The beast had not been the only killer here. He pushed himself up again, testing the wall, searching for a stable hold. After several failed attempts, he found a thick root that reached downward like a lifeline. He gripped it and began climbing, every muscle screaming in protest. The wound on his chest throbbed, but he ignored it, focusing only on the climb. Finally, his hand reached the edge. He dragged himself out, collapsing on the ground, breathing heavy. The corpse of the giant jaguar lay still nearby, flies gathering around its wounds. The victory felt hollow. Ryan rose slowly, his body shaking with exhaustion. He looked around, trying to recall his bearings. The river ran nearby, its gentle sound strangely calm. He needed to move, find shelter, find a way out. As he walked, He noticed more tracks, in the soil. Footprints. Not human, not animal, something else entirely. The impressions were wide with long toes that dug deep into the ground. He followed them cautiously, rifle retrieved from where it had fallen, still functional, though dented hours passed and the jungle grew denser. The calls of birds faded, replaced by strange rhythmic clicks echoing through the trees. Ryan slowed his steps, every sense heightened. The air felt colder, though the sun still burned above. He reached another clearing and found ruins, stone pillars half consumed by roots, old carvings depicting men with spears surrounded by beasts. The markings showed battles, hunts, and finally the image of a creature standing over fallen warriors with its arms raised toward the sky. Ryan studied the symbols. His mind turned with unease. The locals had spoken of the spirit of the jungle, an old guardian that punished those who hunted for pride rather than need. He had dismissed it as legend, but the drawings felt too real, too deliberate. Sudden gust rustled the leaves. Something moved among the shadows again. He aimed his rifle, but nothing appeared. Then a whisper brushed his ear, though no one stood near. Leave, he heard it faint and cold. Leave or be taken. He spun around, heart hammering. Nothing, only vines and the wind. The jungle seemed to close in around him, tighter. Darker, he forced himself forward, refusing to surrender to fear. He was a hunter. He had survived worse. Yet each step felt heavier, and the silence more suffocating. By nightfall, he found a small cave near a waterfall. He entered cautiously, the sound of water masking his footsteps. Inside it was cool and damp. He lit a small fire and examined his wounds, tearing cloth to wrap them. He tried to rest, but sleep refused him. His mind replayed the eyes, the voices, the drawings. Then the fire flickered. The air shifted as if something had entered unseen. He lifted his rifle. The shadows danced, and from within them emerged a figure, tall, thin, covered. In markings its face, hidden behind bone and leaves, its eyes bright with an eerie glow. Ryan pointed the rifle straight at it. The figure did not move. It only spoke with a voice deep and layered. You kill what you do not understand, you take from the heart of the forest without asking. Now the forest takes you. Ryan pulled the trigger. The shot rang through the cave. The figure vanished like smoke. The echo died, leaving only silence. He stood there shaking, breathing hard. He told himself it was an illusion, exhaustion, playing tricks on his mind. Yet outside the cave, the jungle roared to life. 100 unseen creatures screamed into the night as if mourning or warning. Ryan backed against the wall, clutching his weapon. He realized then that he was not alone, and that the hunt had changed. Its rules no longer belonged to him. When morning came, his fire was cold. The marks of footsteps surrounded the cave, too large, too strange to belong to any man. He stepped out into the light and found that the path he had taken was gone. The jungle had rearranged itself. The trees looked different. The river sounded farther away. He was trapped in a maze, alive and shifting around him. Ryan began moving again, muscles aching, heart racing. The calls of birds returned, but their tone was different, shrill, almost mocking. He felt the weight of unseen eyes on his back. He found another trail marked with bones hanging from branches, clicking softly in the wind. Each one carved with symbols he passed, beneath them feeling the hair rise on his neck. Something snapped behind him. He spun rifle ready, but saw only leaves swaying. He turned back and froze. Ahead stood another predator, not the jaguar, but a lean black panther, its eyes cold and focused. The beast crouched low, muscles ready to strike. Ryan raised his rifle, aimed steady, and fired. The bullet hit the mark. The panther stumbled but did not fall. It charged through the pane, knocking him to the ground. He rolled sideways, pulling his knife, and slashing at its side. Blood splattered his arm. The animal screamed but kept coming. He pushed with all his strength, driving the knife deep until the beast collapsed beside him, twitching until stillness returned. Ryan staggered to his feet, shaking with adrenaline. The jungle was silent again, but only for a moment. Then the whispers returned. Many voices overlapping. The hunter becomes the prey. They said over and over, until the sound filled his skull. He stumbled forward through vines and mist, trying to escape the noise, but the jungle followed him, whispering with every step. The sun rose heavy and red through the canopy, painting the mist in shades of fire. Ryan moved slowly through the tangled roots, his breath shallow, his clothes torn and soaked in sweat and blood. The rifle hung across his back, empty of bullets now, only a weight that slowed him. His knife was his last defense, dull from use, slick from the fight. The jungle had changed again. The air was still but alive with whispers that seemed to follow his steps. He saw shapes in the distance that vanished. When he turned his head, shadows that moved against the light. The trees themselves felt different, their bark darker, their leaves sharper edges gleaming like blades. He stumbled upon another ruin, old stones arranged in circles around a pool of black water. The carvings on the stones showed hunters kneeling before beasts, offering gifts of meat and bone. Ryan stared at them, his heart pounding with unease. The meaning was clear. The hunter must bow or be devoured. He knelt beside the pool, washing his face. The water was cold and still, yet when he looked deeper, he saw not his reflection but the jaguar's eyes, staring back, glowing faint and gold. He stumbled backward, the image rippled, then faded into nothing. He breathed hard, trying to steady himself. He told his mind that fear was a weapon of the jungle, that it wanted him to lose control. He refused to surrender. He would find a way out. He pressed on, following what he thought was a trail. The ground grew soft, his boots sinking into mud. And roots he heard movement again, heavy footsteps matching his pace. He stopped. The sound stopped. He moved. The sound moved. He turned fast. Knife raised, but saw only ferns swaying. Then a low growl answered him from behind. The same tone, the same vibration. He had heard the night before. He spun again, heart racing. The trees ahead split open, revealing a path lined with skulls hanging from vines. Their empty eyes watched him as he passed. The air smelled of decay and old blood. A storm gathered above thunder, rolling like a warning. Wind rushed through the leaves, scattering debris. The rain began in sudden torrents, soaking him within seconds. The water stung his wounds, turning the earth to slippery mire. Ryan pushed forward, driven by instinct. He needed higher ground. The river's roar called him again, somewhere ahead. He moved toward it, his vision blurred by rain. Lightning flashed, revealing something massive in the distance. A stone figure shaped like the jaguar carved into a cliff face. Its eyes filled with vines and moss, Ryan felt drawn to it, pulled by some unseen force. He approached cautiously, water splashing around his boots. At the base of the statue lay an opening, a cave dark and wide. He entered, sheltering from the storm. Inside, he found torches still burning faintly, though no one was there. The walls were covered in drawings, hunters running through the jungle, their faces twisted in terror, while beasts watched from the trees. Above all of them was one figure, neither man nor animal, crowned with leaves, eyes burning bright. Ryan felt a chill run through his bones. He walked deeper until he reached an altar built of bones. At its center lay something small, a pendant shaped like a jaguar's head carved from stone. He lifted it and felt warmth pulse through it as if alive. Then he heard footsteps behind him, soft, deliberate, slow. He turned, knife ready. The figure from the night before stood there, the one with the bone mask. The same glowing eyes stared at him. "You still do not understand," the voice said. "The forest is alive because it remembers every life taken. Every hunter who spilled blood without need becomes part of it. You are not the first, and you will not be the last." Ryan raised the knife. "Stay back," he said, his voice raw from fear and rage. The figure moved closer. The mask tilted slightly as if curious. "Do you still believe you are the hunter?" it asked. Ryan lunged, shouting. He swung the knife, but his arm froze halfway. The air grew thick, his vision blurred. The cave spun around him. The torches flared brighter and then dimmed, leaving him in half-darkness. He could not move. The pendant in his hand glowed brighter, pulsing with each heartbeat. The voice spoke again, softer now. "You have taken much from the jungle. Now the jungle takes you." He felt his body weaken as if drained by unseen roots. The air filled with the scent of soil and blood. His knife slipped from his grasp and fell to the floor. When he woke, the storm had passed. The cave was silent. The figure was gone. The pendant still hung around his neck heavier than before. He touched it and felt his pulse echo through it. He stepped outside. The jungle was brighter, almost peaceful. The air felt clean. The birds sang again. Yet something inside him was wrong. His vision sharper, his hearing more precise, every sound distinct, even the beat of insects' wings. He crouched and saw footprints on the ground, a boar moving through the undergrowth. He watched it from afar, muscles tightening without. Thought his breath slowed, his senses sharpened. He moved like a shadow, silent and precise. He lunged, knife in hand, and struck before the animal could run. The blade pierced its neck clean and deep. The beast fell without a sound. He stood over it, breathing, hard. The blood smelled sweet. The hunt had felt natural, too. Natural. He stared at his hands. They trembled, but not from fear. Something deeper pulsed within him. Instinct, primal, fierce. He looked around and realized the jungle no longer whispered against him. It breathed with him. Each sound, each movement felt part of him. The pendant throbbed in rhythm with the forest. Then he heard voices in the distance. Human voices, a group of hunters shouting, calling to one another. Their rifles gleamed in the sunlight. They were tracking something, perhaps. Ryan watched them from the trees unseen. His instincts screamed at him to move, to hide, to strike. He felt the jungle move with him, leaves closing over his body, vines masking his scent. He waited motionless. As the hunters passed beneath him unaware, the thought entered his mind without invitation. They should not be here. They would bring death again. They would take what they did not understand. He gripped the knife tighter. The hunter had become something else now, neither man nor beast. But the bridge between the prey had learned the rhythm of the forest, and the forest had claimed him as its own. He stepped down silently, following the new intruders. His heart, calm, his purpose clear. The jungle no longer hunted him, it hunted through him. The morning was silent, except for the slow breathing of the forest. The mist coiled between the trees like smoke wrapping the trunks in silver light. Ryan moved within it, unseen. His steps made no sound, his presence blending with the pulse of the land. The hunters who had entered his domain carried their rifles high, scanning the trees, shouting to one another, unaware that the forest was listening through him. He watched from above, crouched among the branches. Body still as stone, his eyes followed. Their every motion, their every nervous glance. He no longer felt pain. His wounds had healed without scar. His blood now flowed with the rhythm of the jungle. He could hear the heartbeats of the intruders, could smell the iron on their weapons, and the sweat of fear rising from their skin. One hunter stopped near the river, bending to check a set of prints. Ryan saw his reflection in the water, and for a moment he almost recognized the man he once was. But the eyes that looked back were not human. They glowed faint gold, like the beast he had slain. The pendant on his chest pulsed once in answer. He leapt from the branch landing behind the man. The movement was too fast, too smooth. The hunter turned too late. Ryan's knife struck deep and clean. The body fell soundless. The others shouted, spinning in panic, searching the trees. Ryan vanished again, melting into the leaves. He moved around them, swift as wind, striking one by one. Each cry was swallowed by the forest. Each rifle clattered useless. To the ground. The air filled with the scent of rain and blood. Soon only one remained. A younger man, trembling rifle shaking in his hands. He backed toward the river, eyes wide, calling for help that would never come. Ryan stepped into view, mud streaking. His bare chest, his knife dripping, his gaze empty of mercy. "Please," the man begged, voice cracking. "We came for the beast, we meant no harm." Ryan's voice was rough from silence. "The beast is gone," he said. "The jungle has a new guardian. Now," the man fired. The bullet grazed Ryan's arm and struck a tree. The sound echoed once, then vanished, swallowed by the mist. Ryan advanced slowly, eyes fixed on his prey. The man stumbled, fell into the river, tried to swim, but the current dragged him toward the rocks. Ryan followed along the bank, his steps silent. The river carried the man downstream until he disappeared beneath the foam. Ryan stood still, watching the water until the ripples faded. The jungle returned to calm. The birds sang again. The air smelled of rain and life. He turned away, walking deeper into the forest. The pendant around his neck glowed faintly with each step. The whispers returned. But now they spoke, not in warning, but in greeting. They called his name not as Ryan, but as something bolder, something eternal. He reached the cave once more. The torches burned, though no hands had lit them. The altar waited. He placed the knife upon it and bowed his head. The pendant pulsed and the walls shimmered with faint light. The voice of the forest spoke through the stone. "You have learned the law of balance. You have given blood and taken blood. You are both hunter and prey, guardian and shadow." Ryan closed his eyes and breathed. The air filled him like fire, and when he opened them again, the cave was gone. He stood in the open beneath the great jaguar statue, its eyes alive with golden flame. The vines around it moved like living tendrils, wrapping gently around his arms. He did not resist. The vines lifted him higher, the light spreading. Across his skin, his flesh shimmered, turning dark like bark veins, glowing faint green. The jungle's heartbeat merged with his own until they were one. The transformation was neither pain nor peace. It was simply truth. The man who had come to conquer. The wild had become its soul. Time passed, though he no longer measured it. The rains came and went. The rivers rose and fell. The animals moved freely under his gaze. He watched the balance of life and death play across the endless green. Sometimes wanderers entered the forest, searching for trophies or treasure. Few returned. Those who did spoke of eyes that watched from the shadows of a spirit that walked like a man and moved like a beast. They said the jungle was alive, that it remembered, that mercy was not guaranteed, and somewhere within the endless green, Ryan listened to their voices with quiet understanding. He no longer felt rage, only the deep calm of belonging. The pendant still hung upon his chest, but it had grown into his skin, a living mark of his bond to the forest. His senses stretched far beyond sight and sound. He could feel the tremor of footsteps miles away, the flutter of birds taking flight, the death cry of a snake devoured by hawk. He was all of it, and all of it was him. Dusk. He walked the old paths where he had once bled and feared. The pit had filled with water, now a small pond ringed with moss. The jaguar skulls had crumbled into dust, and the vines had woven them into the soil. He knelt there, touching the ground. In quiet respect, in the wind he heard faint echoes of the man he had been, the one who hunted for glory, the one who thought the wild could be mastered. That voice was now small, distant, fading into memory. Night fell and the stars burned above like distant eyes. Ryan stood among the trees, his figure half shadow, half light. The creatures of the jungle moved around him without fear. They knew their guardian. The balance was restored. He lifted his gaze to the sky and spoke, though no one could hear. I was the hunter. I became the prey. I am the forest now, and mercy is what I choose to give or deny. The jungle answered with a low, endless murmur, leaves rustling in harmony. The sound rose and fell like the breath of the earth, and as the night deepened, and the mist returned, the figure of the man faded among the trees until nothing remained but the rhythm of life itself. The hunter was gone. The prey was gone. The jungle remained eternal, awake and watching.